You may have noticed that this video is significantly longer than the rest of the tutorial segments. Welcome to editing. You've got a bunch of footage, your phone is almost full, now what? Well, post-production, commonly called editing, which is cutting the pieces of the video that you shot together to make your story. And we are going to use a program on the phone called CapCut. CapCut is made by the same company that makes TikTok. And I chose this one because it's free on all the platforms and it offers a few features that the other free programs don't. So let's take a quick look at the finished video that we're going to be working on here. I want to show you the end product and then we'll see how it got put together. Chickens. Chickens. You might not think they're an important part of the ecosystem, and they're not. But here in Hawaii, they represent something a little bit more significant. Food. In the event of a hurricane, those chickens right there, food. Sorry. Pretty simple. So let's open up CapCut and have a look. So this is on Android, but it works on iOS as well. It also works on desktop. We're not going to be looking at that right away. There's a different program I'd recommend if you're going to be working on your computer. So we're going to open a new project right here. And it automatically goes to asking you what media you want to start with. So I'm going to go to a folder that I've set aside my media in. So CapCut, and I'm going to see I have photos and videos here. I downloaded the photos, but you can see this one here. That's the talking head. So I'm going to select that one, chicken, and just go ahead and add it, and that'll get our project started. So the first thing you do is sort of watch it. I'm the one who shot this, so I know what's there. If you're dealing with footage with someone else shot, then it's a good idea to watch it in its entirety. So I'm just going to go through this in my process and you can kind of follow along. So we'll play it. Chickens. Chickens. You might not think that chickens are an important part of the ecosystem. And they're not. Chickens. Okay. See that? That was a false start. And my habit when I have a false start or when I'm changing topics or when I'm kind of giving myself a visual cue in the edit that something has changed is I'll look off to the side, think about what I'm doing, and then I'll look back at the camera. So I'm going to get rid of that first edit. Now on the CapCut interface here, you can see that I'm using my finger to move that side to side. I'm going to get that little white line right where I want it. So I want to start looking off the screen and then come to the camera when we start talking about chicken. You can see down here at the bottom, there's an edit, there's audio, text overlay. I'm going to hit edit, and then you see right there's a split option, and that puts a cut right where the play head is, that white line is. So now I can back up, select the part that I know I do not want, and then you see there's a delete button down there. I hit the delete button, and now the false beginning is gone. Chickens. Maybe a little long. So I'm going to select that again by tapping on it. And you see how that gives this little white handle. So you can take that handle and then just drag it to the side. And that will change where the video starts or ends. Now I still want to start looking off to the side, but I don't need all of that. There we go. Let's see how that looks. Chickens. Not too bad. Chickens. We'll keep going. You might not think they're an important part of the ecosystem. And they're not. So there it is again. That was my look to the side. And this is where we jump in on the, and they're not, because it's kind of amusing. So we'll back up a little bit. Ecosystem. Might not think they're a part of the ecosystem. Stop. We're going to add another split down there at the bottom. Move to the beginning, and they're not. Of and they're not. I usually look for things like the eyes starting to open. That's a good frame right there. We'll hit split. I'm going to pinch and widen this a little bit so I can select that part that I don't want. And then just like before, we hit the delete button and away it goes. So now, and they're not. Again, I'm going to find the eyes, and they're not. There's the word ending, and then the eyes starting to close before they close all the way. I'm going to get back into my edit mode and split. So now, here, this clip here in the middle, we need to zoom in on. And that's very easy to do in CapCut. You just pinch. So I'm going to zoom in and then move that eye line back onto the rule of thirds. Ecosystem. And they're not. But here, that's nice, but it's not enough of a jump because I'm coming back to the exact same facial expression. So we're going to move it a little bit forward. You can see here I start talking again. But here in Hawaii. There we go. We'll assume that that's a decent place to start. Select, split, and now I'm going to, again, take that part that I know I don't want and delete it. So now this should be a good jump in that is significantly different than what's before and after. System. And they're not. But here in Hawaii, they represent... Still a little bit too much delay there from coming back. So I'm going to select this clip, grab the handle, and move it just a little bit. Cut a little bit off of that. They're not. But here in Hawaii, they represent something a little bit more... We haven't really come very far, and we've already started listening to this over and over and over. Welcome to editing. Alright, so let's play it from the beginning. Chickens. Chickens. You might not think they're an important part of the ecosystem, and they're not. But here in Hawaii, they represent something a little bit more significant. Food. In the event of a hurricane, those chickens right there, food. Sorry. That was a good take. Right here at the end, see the eyes closing. Before they close all the way, we will split that clip and then take the ending, delete it. Now, here in CapCut, it automatically adds a tag at the end that is an advertisement for CapCut. You can select that and delete it, gone. But you can also go into the settings, the gear icon up here in the corner, and the second option down, add default ending, you can turn that off and not have to deal with that again. Now comes the part where we add the B-roll. In CapCut, it's called overlay. You can see it down there at the bottom. It's right down here. I used a couple tricks in CapCut, but let's see here. Chickens, pointing at the chickens. Chickens. Looking at the chicken. So I'm going to add a cut right here. I'm just using that as a marker. Chickens. And that little rooster calling and that look, I want to see that again. So what I've done is marked a part of the edit that I want to show something else other than myself talking. So we have some chicken shots there. So we'll move back to the beginning of the overlay section here. Right on that cut that I made. And then I'm going to hit overlay down at the bottom. We're now in overlay mode, as CapCut calls it. And we're going to add an overlay, and we come back to the same media interface as we had before. So I want to see some of those chickens. This is a good shot where we're coming from behind something in the foreground to focus on the chickens later. I like that. So I'm going to hit the crop button here, and now this gives us handles similar to when we're using the handles to change the size of something. So I'm going to move the front handle. I don't want too much of the plant, so I'm moving the front handle to where we're just coming from the plant to the chicken. And we'll make that shorter, because I know we don't need much of it. We'll hit the OK button down here, the check box, and that says, okay, we're going to take this part of that longer file, just this little section, and we're going to add it to the edit. Now, here's where CapCut is a little idiosyncratic. It's called overlay, and it puts it under the track. Don't ask me why. It just, that's what they do. So from this position, the lowest video or photo is the one that's being displayed. In almost every other program, it's on top. The overlay is on top, and visually you're looking. Anyway, so you see what we got here. Chickens. Chickens. So that is serving as my kind of my 3-shot, an establishing shot. Even though my 2-shot with me speaking and the chickens in the background is doing the same, serving the same function. So let's zoom in on those chickens a bit. Let's find another video to overlay that works well. So we'll add overlay, and I think this one in the middle, yeah, you can see the chickens walking around. I like that. So we'll go into crop mode and start. I don't want them to be behind the trees too much. And we only need about a second of it. Well, that's not the right second. So let's move it a bit. That's even more behind the trees. Right there. Let's let that last one come out of the tree. Yeah, over there. That's a good shot. We'll grab it and we'll add it. Now you can see that's a little bit long, just fine. I'm going to shorten it from this end, because I know I liked where that chicken came out from behind the tree at the end, and move it back by pressing and dragging. Now you can see how a mouse and keyboard in a computer, you have a little bit more position, but this actually works surprisingly well. So you see here, I'm going to drag it out, and as I get close to this existing cut, it'll kind of snap to the same place. That's why I put that cut there, because I know I want to go back to the original shot right there, and because I have that cut there, it'll snap to it. So let's have a look. Chickens. Chickens. You might not think they're an important part of the ecosystem, and they're not. But here in Hawaii, we don't actually need to be seeing me talking about that. Let's see some more of the chickens, because that's what we're talking about. So we're going to go from the 2-shot here. But here in Hawaii, I'll take that much. They represent. Here in Hawaii. Alright. We'll put another split there. Just using the split as a marker. They represent something a little bit more significant. Food. We'll come back to that for reference. Get out of overlay mode here, edit, and put another split in. Now, you already know how to put an overlay in, so we're going to do a couple of things that I didn't do in the original edit. So we will add overlay, and let's pick this shot here. I like the chicken flying up, don't you? Go into crop mode, and just grab about a second of that. We know we don't need too much. Let's see how that looks. Chicken flying up. Good. Maybe a little bit more. And we'll grab it and add it. Now. But here in Hawaii, they represent something a little bit more significant. Let's actually grab that and make it the length of the whole thing. And now we're going to add some effects. You see how in this shot, everything's kind of nice and colorful. Compared to this shot, it's kind of dingy. The different lens on my phone takes a different style of photo. So let's do a couple of things here. It's also a different frame. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe if I move it around a little. You can see the blue frame on top. It's not quite the same size as the other video. No idea why. So the first thing we're going to do is make that a little bit larger so that we don't have any of the previous video showing from under it. Now let's do a fun thing here. I'm going to color correct this by selecting that video, and I'm going to drag the effects along the bottom here until I find adjust. I'm going to hit adjust, and now I just happen to know how this works, but I'm going to take the brightness and knock it down a little bit, take the contrast and take it up a little bit, take the saturation, which adds more color, and turn that up a tad as well. And now the chickens and the two shot here are about the same color characteristics. That's a very basic color correction. You do a lot of this in documentary making. That's how you do it in CapCut. But we're going to do something else with this shot of the chickens, because it's kind of long, and the chicken jumping up is a little exciting. There's at least something visual going on. I know it's not exciting. So we're going to actually zoom in on this a little bit, and we're going to do that by making sure we have that video selected, and then we're going to hit this keyframe icon here, and you will see when you hit that a little marker appears inside the video. Then we're going to take it, move to the end of the video, make another keyframe, and then I'm going to zoom in using the pinch to zoom up here in the top like that. And now the program automatically moves between the state that you saved at one keyframe to the state that you saved at the other. So it goes from not zoomed in to zooming in. Why they represent something a little bit more significant. Food. The rabbit hole goes very, 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 very deep, but that's keyframing, and you'll be using that a lot. This is specifically how you add movement to a video, but you could change color, you could change all kinds of things. You could do a whole lot of stuff with keyframing. Now we need to add some photos. So, food. In the event of a hurricane. So again, I'm going to split to give myself a marker. Those chickens right there. Give myself a little bit of a nod at there. Split it again. So now I'm going to put 3 photos over this. Go back to the beginning. Add overlay. Up here at the top, it says videos on one side and photos on the other. So we'll switch to photos. And I'm going to add the hurricane, the people walking over the wreckage of the house, and then the additional house wreckage. Add. Oh my goodness. It adds all 3 of them in layers. So I'm going to select the first one and make it take up about 1/3 of the space between my 2 cuts that I'm using as a marker. Take the second one, move the beginning to where the first one ends, and then give it a little bit of space. I'm going to move the end here to where it hits, and then make that smaller as well. Now I think the first one is a little small, so I'm going to reshuffle these just a little. Like that. Let's see how it looks. In the event of a hurricane, those chickens right there, food. So you can see here, you can see the video behind the photo. So again, pinch to zoom, make it where you want it. Again. Now we could animate these as well with keyframes, but I'm just kind of going through this pretty quickly. Editing decisions here. In the event of a hurricane, those chickens right there. Those chickens right there on the photo of the person makes it sound like we're calling the person a chicken. So I'm going to fix that. We're going to go in, make these all shorter, because right about there is when we're talking about chicken. So we're going to make these really fast cuts. Press and hold to move it over. Make it smaller. Take this one, press and hold to move it over, and then make it smaller. Those chickens right there. So those go by much more quickly, which is fine. It gets the idea across, and that's all we need. Hurricane. Those chickens right there. Move that back a little. And now add overlay and go back to videos and find another shot of chickens that we like. You can see on this list there are certain videos that have been imported. You can see it says imported. That means that video is already in use. Now we didn't use all of it, so there might be other shots in there that you can use. So Let's check this one. I like it, but we're going to need to zoom in. So we'll crop, select a section of it. I know we don't need much. Bring that in. And those chickens right there, food. Let's go ahead and pull that out to the cut. So we're going to watch this the whole time. Let's then zoom in on it some. You can do this if you're shot in 4K and you're editing in 1080. That's kind of why I do this. But it also doesn't matter too much. Oh, that nice flapping wings. That's kind of fun. All right, so in the event of a hurricane, those chickens right there, food. Sorry. And then the ending, the punchline, as it were. So we're going to add another video. It's not an overlay. To add a video or photo to the main line here, you hit this plus button at the side. Plus, we'll go back into photos and we'll grab the chicken nuggets, add it, and make it shorter because we don't need however long it is. We'll make it, you can see there's a little time stamp right there. It says a second and a half. Let's take that all the way down to 1 second. Sorry. Done. But let's also make that larger so we don't have the... So that's it. That's the edit. But we also have to then render the final edit. The only way you can show somebody this video right now is in the CapCut program. What we need to do is to finish it. It's kind of like you've written the book and now we need to print the book. Once the book is printed, it can't be changed anymore. So rendering is kind of the printing of the video. To do that, we are going to go up to the top again here, and you see the little arrow. It's exporting. It's doing its thing. Done. From there, you can share it to your social media account if you want. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit other down here. I believe on a Mac you would send this to files and my files. I use a different file manager here. I'm going to go to more and send it to File Explorer, main storage. I think I have renders in here. Renders, save. And now I have saved my chickens, which I believe is the last one here. Chickens. Chickens. I tend to save it to my phone first and then upload it from there to my social media account because I have the final file. I know where it is and I can send it to multiple places. So that's pretty much editing. The basics anyway. That rabbit hole goes very deep. Oh my gosh, you can just lose yourself in the detail. And people often do. But that's the basics of getting the story together from the footage that you've shot. Give it a try. The more you do it, the better you get at it. Obviously, this is not a groundbreaking documentary about chickens. And I filmed it sort of in my spare time while waiting for my partner to finish what she was doing. It's kind of fun. Give it a try.